This Headless Professor video is about the morphology of religion. As you might be able to tell from the root word morph, it deals with the changing structure of religion over time. Religion, like all social systems, can be static or dynamic. Static social systems, whether it be religion or government, is eventually going to die out. It's not going to survive in changing times. On the other hand, dynamic social systems, whether it be government or religion, dynamic social systems capable of meeting changing needs are going to continue to succeed and survive. We see the dynamic nature of religion in several ways. Within the individual life course, we see that the relevance of religion for the individual changes according to the different phases of the life cycle that the individual enters. When one is a child, he or she has to get accustomed and adapted to the society. That's one function of religion, to help people make this kind of adaptation. And then, in moving to the other stages of life, there are various rituals known as rites of passage to help the individual transition. For example, in making the move from childhood to adulthood, there are various puberty rites, the bar mitzvah in Judaism, getting the priesthood in the Mormon religion, confirmation or first communion in Catholicism, circumcision in Islam, and many tribal religions. Then, of course, a major step in life is marriage, and there are religious rituals for that as well. And that is followed by another important life event, becoming a parent when children are born. Then, when death takes place, religion helps the individual and the community cope and mourn for this with various funeral rites. What we see is that the forms of religion that the individual uses are going to change over the life cycle. But religion also changes throughout a culture. And that is true whether we are talking about a monocultural system or a transcultural system. In a monocultural system, what we are talking about is how religion changes over the course of history within a given religion in a given culture. Let's take a look at India, Hinduism, for example. It was one kind of polytheistic patriarchal religion back at the time of the Vedas, and then by the Upanishads, it was a pantheistic mystical religion. It morphed again at the time of the Bhagavad Gita when the duty to caste was re-emphasized. We see it also in Judaism. It was one kind of tribal religion for desert nomads, and then at the time of the temple under Solomon, it had different emphases. In post-exilic Judaism, it morphed again, and when the Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans, beginning the Jewish diaspora, it became yet another kind of religion, and that was finalized by the Talmud. We also see this in the kinds of religions that span different cultures. Let's take a look at some transcultural examples of religion. We see the same kind of change go on, plus one more factor, known as syncretism, where different forces from different cultures blend together in the change of a religion. We see this in Buddhism. That starts off as an Indian religion emphasizing karma and transmigration, but when it gets to China, it blends with Taoism, and we have Zen Buddhism. And when it gets to Tibet, it mixes with the local religions there. We see the same kind of thing happening in Thailand and Japan and Sri Lanka. We see the same kind of thing happening in Christianity. It starts off as a Jewish spin-off, but it mixes with Greek philosophy, Celtic and Teutonic ritual, and it becomes a religion that is the backbone of Europe. We also see this in tribal religions. In Melanesia, for example, when exposed to Western culture during World War II, we see the emergence of cargo cults. We also see this in Native American religion. When they're herded on to reservations, we find a new development taking place, ghost dance religion. Religions do change over time. Those who deny this often emphasize the importance of Scripture and say that Scripture does not change. Actually, Scripture is one of the best records of the constant change within religion. Scripture is a snapshot of what a given religious community at a given time decided to record as their sacred writings, depicting the myths, symbols, rituals, ethics, and doctrines most relevant to them. The 66 books of the Protestant Bible are a good example of the changing nature of the Judaic and Christian heritage. Even looking at the four Gospels, we see early Christianity morphing, not just century to century, but decade to decade, as the cultural forces of the Greco-Roman expansion took place. If you have any comments on this Headless Professor video or any others, contact me, brink@usa.com.